Welcome everyone to the VSGaming Premier Division. This is leg 4. Today we have WRG White Rabbit Gaming Boostios versus Unidentified. These teams have gone neck and neck before. Last leg Unidentified came out on top though, so what is going to be happening today? I will be your play-by-play caster Cloudburst, and joined with me is the lovely Donimay. How is it going that side?
I'm good, thank you very much. Quite looking forward to this matchup again to see what these two teams do this time around.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what strategies come out here. We do have the maps currently. First map is going to be Rialto, which is quite an interesting one. It is forced for the leg. We've seen some interesting strategies come out for that, but we'll have to see who can really pull it out from here. Then over to Junkertown, which we know Boostios do pretty damn well at. King's Row, a loved map by everyone. Route 66, we're going to see some fantastic sightlines, possibly some Widowmaker plays coming out, especially from the very loved Patches. And last map, if we do get there, on Volskaya Industries, which has been really anyone's game coming up for VSGaming.
Yeah, no, if we make it as far as the 5th map, it'll be interesting to see because, I mean, all these other maps are sort of hybrid maps happening, so it'll be nice to see sort of a different spin-up happening, something that isn't a hybrid for a change.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Lots of different types of maps, lots of different things coming in. Just looking over at the players, let's swap over the screen quickly so that all of you guys can see what players are coming into this one. And over there, we're going to see from the Boostios side, their roster today is going to be Barnacle, Patches, Kimbo, Jub, Visions, and Krakens. To my understanding, this is the full core team of WRG Boostios. Not too sure if any of the subs are in for this one. Donimay, you might be able to shed more light on this though.
Well, we just lost Krakens from the custom game, but yes, that would be the core 6 for White Rabbit Gaming Boostios. So no subs at the moment, although Krakens has now left the group, so I'm not sure whether he's being subbed out or whether he's got a bit of a connection issue.
Hopefully it is neither of those, and Kraken will be back shortly, but not too much of a problem in that regards. Looking at Unidentified, very strong team. You can see Sponge showing off his top 500 badge over there, so this this match is not going to be a joke whatsoever. Maikilele, fantastic Zenyatta main. He is very good at dealing with flankers coming in. Gutbuster and Squishy, lovely in the front line there, and Shapeshifter and Sigs just closing that roster up. Unidentified looking like a pretty strong team right now. However, Boostios have been around together longer, and their strategy and synergy should be able to come out on top of what Unidentified can bring to them. But as I said, it's anyone's game, and as we saw last leg, Unidentified did take it on their side 3-1. But hopefully Patch's connection issues going into this match have been resolved.
Yeah, no, definitely. Unidentified was very strong in the previous leg, sort of took everybody by surprise. We'll have to see whether they're able to sort of keep that momentum up and keep it going. I'm sure Boostios in the meantime has also been putting in a lot of work, doing a lot of practice, so we'll have to see how sort of both these teams have matured and adapted to sort of into this next leg to see where they will end up.
Indeed. My catchphrase right there, going to be giving it to you guys non-stop. Can't wait to get this one going.
Yeah, we just had Unidentified call for 2 minutes before start a little while ago, so hopefully they will all be ready to go in just a little bit. Okay, it seems to be a ready from everyone, so we should be starting momentarily.
Fantastic. Going in to Rialto as the first map. I'm not too sure which team is favored on this map at the moment, because I haven't really seen them play it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rialto is a fairly new map to the VSG circuit, so it hasn't really been played in the legs before because it was so new. A lot of teams were still sort of trying to get their strategy sorted, so it's difficult to say. But I mean, both teams are quite strong on these hybrid type maps. They both have excellent defensive and attack setup, so it could really go either way.
Either way is what we're going to be expecting. I could see this going 2-5 maps. Really depends what is going to be happening between these two teams, what team compositions they're going to be going with, and where we're going to be seeing them heading. Just a little information for these two teams. Both of them at the moment in Leg 4 are currently undefeated, looking for a bit of a trade in top of the logs there. So, depends. This is a very big match in that regard, especially as this is the road to Comic-Con for this leg. It's going to be interesting which one of them comes out on top.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's just a very sort of big moment for both of these teams. They've both been really strong. It's evident from the fact that both teams are currently undefeated, but obviously after today, one team will have to sort of take a loss and put that one in the bag and see where that plays.
Where that goes. I quite like the composition coming here. Patches on his signature Widowmaker. Going to be looking for some heads there. Barnacle in the sky is going to be working alongside Kimbo on the Mercy. They're getting that from Mercy going. Bit of a pause coming up, but I can continue with this one as well. Jub over on the Winston and Kraken's on the Diva. Bit of a dive-centric composition, even on defense. I quite like this. And Vision's wrapping things up on that Zenyatta, just in case we see some of those wombo combos come out. Transcendence can be a teamfight turnaround. But I'll take it away for you to give us a bit of a rundown of what we see so far in Unidentified. We do know that they can swap a few players up before the match does start.
Yeah, no, definitely. We see Unidentified also sort of sticking with these divey kind of tanks at the moment. I think that is mostly to sort of try and help them get over that initial bridge without sort of too much of risk for potential boop off the side. We see Sponge going on the Widow potentially to counter Patches, which they know would likely be favored on this map given the long sightlines. It's a very nice place for Widow, so they're likely trying to counter that. Squishy might also be a potential counter for Patches on the Widow, so they might be trying to just really shut him down and make sure he doesn't hurt them too much. And then we also see them with the Zen as well as the Mercy on the side of Unidentified. Like you said, the Zen with the Trance can really save a fight. And also those Discord Orbs give you that extra 30% damage on a target, so it's really nice to have a Zen in your pocket.
I could keep a Zen in my pocket any day. Always great to have them around. I also think, coming from Unidentified, they're going to be looking for ways to take out Barnacle before he can actually pop off from his side there. Being able to deal with him in the air, and they have Sponge and Squishy to do that. Squishy probably doesn't want to focus completely on Barnacle, but we have seen Genji's make some pretty interesting plays in that regards. Sigs can definitely deal with Barnacle, but we do know that he is very proficient on the Pharah and able to keep himself alive for way longer than expected to dish out that important damage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Both Sigs and the Diva, as well as Sponge and the Widow, is likely to contest Barnacle. And if Sponge is dealing with Barnacle, then Squishy can obviously then just take care and sort of try and get a hold on Patches.
Completely, we can see already. Interesting seeing Shapeshifter use his jump there on the Winston so early. Sponge looking for something, but I like WRG staying just kind of in the back there around that corner. Not wanting any trouble just yet. But here we have it. They're waiting for the choke, and Sponge takes Patches down. This is not the best for WRG right now. Shapeshifter jumping down as well. Kraken's having to just dish out some damage, back off a bit. Barnacle looking for some kills possibly right now. And there we have it. Michaelele takes out Jub in the trade. Sadly, we did not see that, but we did see the kill cam of that happening. This is not very favored for WRG right now, but they might be able to turn it around. Barnacle just dishing out damage to the backline, wanting to get Michaelele out of it as soon as possible. And Kraken is just disrupting things on the point. However, Shapeshifter now going straight onto Visions and Kimbo, but they deal with it. Patches is actually popping off a bit here on the Widowmaker, dealing with a lot of threats and allowing for WRG to bring this back. Patches, the player maker, bring it back.
Yeah, no, passionately, definitely doing a lot of work there. He created so much space for his team. It was, I mean, Boostios started off with this very far back defense. It nearly looked as if it wasn't quite going to go their way because Unidentified came in quite strong. But the fact that Patches was able to create so much space for his team really sort of helped to secure that fight for them.
and a fight that is secured indeed. Barnacle ready with Rocket Barrage, probably looking for the right sideline to find it. However, Sponge does know all of their locations now and is definitely communicating it with the rest of the team, looking to get some picks but not quite able to get the ones he needs just yet. So close to getting Barnacle but not quite there. Patches needs to do something about this, but is currently dealing with Sigs, getting a lot of headshots over on the Diva there with probably the biggest hitbox there, but Barnacle using the Rocket Barrage and following up to take out Gutbuster as well. They're keeping this choke extremely well. I was actually expecting a bit more of a push coming from Unidentified, but looking at the ultimates right now, they're still sitting on 3 ultimates. And that's pretty good for WRG.
Yeah, no, it is definitely very good for them, and unfortunately they did use both of the sort of defensive ultimates in that last push, which I think is the reason why Unidentified sort of didn't quite get the push in quite as far as they wanted with both those ultimates being used. So it really made sure that Boostios sort of stayed up, had enough sustains to secure the fight.
And enough sustain is just not enough for Unidentified, seeing as Patches takes out Squishy and uses up Gutbuster's res very early in the fight. They're wanting some more there, and Patches goes down to Michaelele with his exceptional orbs. Just firing as much as he can, but he has to pop Transcendence to keep himself alive and the rest of his team. However, Patches' res Visions is currently down. They don't have Transcendence for WRG to go off, but Jub is ready to use his Primal Rage if he has to. But Krakens is the one that we need to look out for, picking up 3 players with that self-destruct. This just cements WRG's advances right now. Squishy and Sigs are ready with the ultimate. They're gonna have to play pretty safe. They don't have any shield tanks to counter that self-destruct coming in from Sigs.
30 seconds remaining.
Yeah, no, it was a very big bomb happening there. We don't frequently see Diva bombs having quite that much of an impact at this level, generate this high level of play. It's more of a space creator than it really is something that takes out people. So very nicely played there by Krakens.
Nicely played indeed. Squishy does have the Dragon Blade. They need to do a lot of work now. Barnacle, no! Squishy reflecting Barnacle's Rocket Barrage and taking out Kimbo in the process. Here comes the Dragon Blade looking for Patches, but Patches managed to win the trade due to Visions popping up the Transcendence and takes out Sponge as well. Here is some more. Patches not stopping anytime soon, picking up some more, and Visions clearing it up from 6. WRG not allowing Unidentified to get anywhere with that push. Good job, lads.
Yeah, no, that was very nicely played by them. They had a very solid defense, and despite the fact that they were frequently down a tank, they really managed to sort of pull together and just keep Unidentified at bay.
Yeah, I think a big thing that happened there for WRG was the lack of Unidentified's shield tanks and them not being able to stop Krakens with that insanely huge self-destruct, picking up 3 of the players and causing them to reset even after I think they used 1 or 2 ultimates in that fight there, which I know that they did not want to happen to them whatsoever, but once again, still impressed with the amount of damage Michaelele is able to output on that Zenyatta.
Yeah, no, definitely he puts out an immense amount of damage. I mean, Squishy did very well deflecting that ultimate from Barnacle, taking them down in the process. So, I mean, that would potentially have caused them to have to do another complete full reset and have even sort of less space to work with. So, both teams, very, very good performances here. They seem to all be working well together within their team units. They seem to be sort of checking for priority targets and sort of doing everything the way that they're supposed to be doing it.
Both teams not holding any stops against each other. Just give me a quick rundown in the 30 seconds we have. What are we looking at on the team from Unidentified right now?
We see that Unidentified sort of is running with a sort of these boop tanks. They've got Orisa as well as the Roadhog. So the Roadhog, very nice to sort of hook people off the sides. And maybe if there's a potential Bastion happening, that can also be a counter. And then, of course, the Orisa very easily boops things off the sides. The May is there for stalling, of course. And then Sponge to deal with anything that might go up in the air.
Patches still just sticking to this Widowmaker, looking for the right sightlines. I do like what they're going with. And Squishy taking out Barnacle, though. That's not very good for WRG. They might actually Doesn't look like they're going to be backing off at all, and Kimber's not using the res either, saving it for a more important situation. I like visions over here on the Lucio. We don't see Lucio too much at the moment. But this is quite the dive composition from them, and it seems to be allowing them a lot of space. There we go, right onto the backline. Barnacle clearing them out, whilst we have Jub as well as Krakens just dive onto Makelele as well as Gutbust. This is looking fantastic for WRG, and Siggs is the only one left, not for long at all. And Unidentified have so far to run, I don't think they could actually bring this one back. No, and they're being stopped on the way as well.
Yeah, and a very aggressive push from Boostios at the moment.
Squishy decides to brawl Barnacle instead of going to the point to stall it. However, I don't think they would have been able to keep it anyways. First map on Rialto goes to Boostios.
Play of the game.
Yeah, once again we see this very beautiful 3k Diva Bomb. Krakens.
Ah, exceptional, exceptional. Picked up very key targets there and not allowing them to come back whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it was excellent gameplay from both teams. I mean, we saw Boostios on that push. I think the reason why they decided not to do the raise on Barnacle is because they do have the spawn advantage. It's very close, and the fact that Kimbo didn't raise him there where he died means that he could come out of spawn and sort of do that flanking route to catch them a little bit off guard in that back line, because everybody is so focused on the fight happening right in that choke that they don't really notice sort of the sneaky Pharah going around the side. So it was tactically a very nice play from Boostios there.
Boostios coming back from last leg, being beaten 3-1 by Unidentified. They take Rialto in an absolute storm, and now moving to Junkertown, which, to my understanding, is actually quite favored to them as well. So this is a good start for Boostios, and they could possibly rack up 2 wins very early in this best of 5.
Yeah, no, definitely. Junkertown is also like sort of a lot like Rialto. It's one of those maps that is strategically quite difficult to play. It'll either go really well for you, or it'll go really badly for you. There seems to be no real in between for Junkertown.
Yeah, it can be quite a swingy map. I do feel like at the different positions of the map, you can pull your advantage back. However, it can be very difficult if the ult economy is not in your favor. It's got quite a windy entrance at the start, and it just gets smaller and smaller until the very end on that loop, allowing for flankers to get to your backline. It's going to be a tough one from both sides in this regard.
No, definitely. And I mean, this is the first part of this map, once again, has those very long sight lines. It's a very open space. It's good for Widow. It's good for Pharah. The Zenyatta's got a lot of room to move there. People frequently also do sort of this divey comp thing sort of to get in and get out and move around, because there's just so much space. But the further you do go into this map, as you said, it does sort of become more contained. So frequently we see people sort of needing to adapt midway through this map, changing their compositions around to sort of be a more tight-knit, brawly type thing, because the small spaces does make it very difficult to sort of maintain all those long-range, high-mobility comps.
And over here from Unidentified, we do see a sub coming out, Gutbuster, deciding to take a bit of a bench here, and they're bringing Toxic in. Toxic, I haven't actually seen Toxic play. What role does Toxic take, or is it a bit of a flex?
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's probably a bit of a flex. I myself also haven't seen him play, so it'll be a first for the both of us.
Fantastic. Gutbuster was their Mercy player, so seeing him hop off here, we're gonna have to see what Toxic brings to the table. Maybe we're gonna see someone else take that Mercy slot, and Toxic might play. I don't see Makelele going off of the Zenyatta. Maybe Toxic is just another Mercy player with a completely different playstyle. Maybe Gutbuster was having connectivity issues. Maybe they're going to put someone else on the team onto the Mercy slot, or come out with a very spicy support play here on Junkertown. Because usually we'll see the pirate ship, so upon entering the game we'll have to see.
Pirate ship is definitely a favor here. I mean, if you're not running the pirate ship, they might be trying to leave the Mercy in favor for Moira. That is also a thing that a lot of the comps run with. as a main support rather than using the Mercy. I mean, it's nice to have the res there, but it'll be interesting to see once the new support balance changes come in from Blizzard, whether people will still be running so much Mercy or whether they'd rather be swapping to something like an Ana. And I also think that maybe we will be seeing a lot more Lucio happening after these new potential support changes come through, because they do get a lot of buffs, Mercy, and of course the Brigitte being nerfed a little bit in the upcoming changes.
We're going to have to see what they decide to do. Just moving in over here on defense. Once again, Patches on the Widowmaker. Visions opting to go for the Ana. I quite like this change here. Allows for a lot of utility with the sleep dart. The recent changes on Ana also make her a lot more viable in regards to your projectiles going through your allies if they are fully healed, allowing for you to also assist in the DPS right now. And Jub and Kraken sticking on their preferred characters here. Barnacle opting for a cheeky Junkrat. We'll have to see exactly how this plays out. Maybe I think they're just expecting this pirate ship coming in from Unidentified, and they want to deal with it as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Patches will be able to take care of anything that goes into the air. It'll be very difficult for him to contest the Bastion behind his shield, and that is exactly why Barnacle is there on that Junkrat to sort of try and spam down the Orisa shield as quickly as possible so that he can get to that Bastion and sort of get him down before he gets time to set up on the payload.
I like this. WRG once again standing quite far back. They might want to actually get to a better position here to be able to deal with this one right now. We can already see the Widowmakers dueling a bit here between Sponge and Patches. Siggs decides to run in. Jub goes right onto the point, and there we have it. Shapeshifter knocked off the point, but Sponge picks up Visions in the trade. Now they have to try and get back onto this one, but it's a bit tough due to the positioning here. Squishy deciding to just back off a bit, reposition himself. Wants to take on the rest of WRG as soon as possible. His team's not really allowing that all that much. Kraken's a bit too deep, and Jub going down as well. The damage coming from that Bastion in the turret configuration extremely powerful, but they're not on the point just yet. Sponge picking up Kimbo, who's going to have to make WRG back off here. I quite like what Unidentified did there. They just decided to back off from the point, reposition, and take it back.
Yeah, no, definitely very nice sort of reset play there from them, sort of just ignoring that payload for a little while. Because once the Bastion is off, it is very difficult to get it set up back onto the payload.
Barnacle's Riptire right there, but Squishy manages to deal with it in the last second possible. Barnacle just trying to get onto that point to deal with it a little bit, but that tank configuration from Squishy is just doing far too much damage. And even Patches is having some trouble up there. This pirate ship working very well for Unidentified.
You know, it does seem as if it's a comp that they are very comfortable with. The fact that they decided to leave the payload in that bit, sort of collect themselves, take out the picks that they needed, and then set back up onto the payload instead of trying to constantly get back on it, was a really nice play by them and sort of helped them to secure the rest of this payload fight for them.
Right now, Patches does have the infra sight. Probably going to be looking for some picks there, but that Orisa shield is kind of hindering him quite a lot, but not enough for WRG not to break through the current setup of Unidentified. Here, Barnacle opting to change to the Genji, but gets taken out by the Siggs on the mini Diva there, out of her mech, but sadly was behind. Sponge getting poisoned as soon as he gets onto the point there. There are sights for Patches right now. That was so close to a headshot, but Patches just moved out the way in time. There we have.
Very interesting, these Widow battles.
Oh, and Sponge
takes the win on that one.
Yeah, doing very well there. You see the corpse of Jub fly across the side there. Here's a self-destruct coming in, and Siggs manages to pick up Patches with that one. This allows them to just get so much space to bring things back here. Barnacle's not looking very healthy up there, especially with the Discord Orb gets pulled back once his deflect is off cooldown, but he managed to get out of there in time.
Yeah, and now with Kimbo raising patches in that previous Widow battle kill, it means that that res is also now on cooldown, so for the next little bit of this brawl, they likely won't have another res up.
But it's not like they need it once again. Kraken's getting a very important kill in with that self-destruct. Jub deciding to pop the Primal Rage as well, but not quite able to find the kills he needs, but able to get them out of position enough for Unidentified to need to back off. And they need to keep this together for another 2 minutes and 45 seconds. It's not going to be very easy, especially with the composition change over on Unidentified side. Sigs and Shapeshifter taking on the Reinhardt and the Zarya, and Squishy moving over to the Brigitte.
Yeah, and it'll definitely be interesting to see what sort of this Ryan Brigitte comp sort of brings to the table for them, whether it gives them a little more stability in the next few fights.
Yeah, you can already see the Brigitte applying a lot of pressure over on the fight there. Patches just trying to find some kills here, but not quite able to get the ones that he needs. Here we have Rally coming out from Squishy, keeping that persistence armor on them for quite a while, allowing for them to move forward. And here's another self-destruct coming in from Kraken's, picking up Toxic. This allows a lot of space. There is no resurrection over on Unidentified side. Whatever they get is definitely their kill. Patches picking up Squishy there and looking for more. Shapeshifter on the point to swing that hammer, but sadly he's surrounded by another 4 players. However, he does get the mech off of Kraken's, and there's the Earth Shatter just onto Visions, but picking up Kraken's as well in the process. Mikelele just bringing in a very early Transcendence just to do some work with it, but Barnacle using the Dragon Blade, looking for some kills, but not able to get it. Too much healing is happening there from Toxic and the Valkyrie.
Yeah, it's very, very good sustains here on the side of Unidentified. The healers did a lot of work despite the fact that both Toxic and Squishy went down pretty early. It was a very nice play from Patches to try and take down the Brigitte as soon as possible, because Brigitte counters the D.Va, it counters the Winston, it countered Barnacle that was on the Genji and is now swapped over to the Doomfist. So the Brigitte definitely had a potential to do a lot of damage for them, but despite the fact that she went down so early, the team just had so much sustain that they managed to sort of outplay Boostios in that fight.
Here we have the duel between Sponge and Patches, who's coming up, and Sponge comes out on top again, even with Jub on top of him. Barnacle switches over to the Doomfist, looking for some more kills, a bit more aggressive with that fist there. But is he able to get it with the amount of damage that Unidentified is popping off here? Squishy as well, popping off Rally once again, just taking out Krakens, and here we have Kimbo as well getting taken down. This is not the best for WRG Boostios right now. Patches moving over to the Hanzo, looking to get some more burst damage into this. And there we go, Hanzo's already working for them, applying enough pressure for Shapeshifter to back off their Barnacle right in the front with the Doomfist right now. They're keeping it together. I like seeing the remaining 4 on the team, the non-DPS players, sticking to their characters, not swapping off them, allowing the DPS to have all the flexibility they need. Sponge swapping over to the Hanzo as well. Needs to match Patches. There, Mikelele goes down. Patches getting that one.
Unfortunately, Sponge goes down. I think they might be trying to sort of get a wombo combo in as soon as possible with Sponge reaching so late. Just trying to secure this last point.
We see an Earthshatter coming in from Shapeshifter, Visions popping the Transcendence, but Patches still goes down from the charge. Kraken's picking up Toxic is very good, and Jub is also on the point, still Sigs coming in with Kimbo, just trying to keep them alive a little bit longer. Shapeshifter picking up Jub, and there's the Graviton Surge onto Kraken's, and a self-destruct as well from Kraken's, picking up Sigs just on the corner of that shield though. This is very good for them going forward. Unidentified probably able to get this, but here we have a Dragon Strike from Patches, keeping them off the point. We also have Jub using that Primal Rage to the best of his ability, but Mikelele popping that Transcendence to keep them off of that point. Another Earthshatter from Shapeshifter, not finding any targets. Krakens did actually get knocked down behind the payload, but didn't even need to be up there. They need to take out Toxic before Res comes out, and they managed to as well. Meteor Strike onto Mikelele and popping Sigs out of there, not allowing for Unidentified to get that third point, which gives them a bit of leeway, but they got very far.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very nice push there from Unidentified. It seemed to me as if the fight got very messy towards the end there. People were sort of trickling in. I think maybe the swap that they made onto the Hanzo, though it was working very nicely for them, it seemed to sort of just didn't get there quick enough, and it sort of ended up in this very messy brawl towards the end. But Boostios did a very nice job sort of defending that point, trying to stall it. The dragons from patches sort of right out of spawn allowed for them to get very sort of scattered and not able to group up together, which is sort of where we've seen Unidentified find a lot of their strength. When they're all sort of clumped together in a little ball, they seem to do amazing things then.
Yeah, take the strengths away from your opponents and work on your own. Once you've done that, WRG able to pick apart the fight quite a bit. But on the other hand, Unidentified absolutely relentless. Seeing Sponge do so much work against patches in these fights along the sidelines, very impressive. However, quite an interesting change with Sponge moving over to the Diva. Mikelele off of his signature main on the Zenyatta and deciding to go for Lucio here. They're going with 3 supports and 3 tanks, or should I say 3 supports and 4 tanks with Squishy on the Brigitte. Just trying to do some more work with that one.
Yeah, no, it's like 3.5 takes 3.5 support. This is a strategy that's sort of commonly known. This is very close to like a goats comp.
Yeah.
So it's be interesting to see what they'll be able to do with this, because it seems as if Boostios will also be sort of trying to run a pirate ship of their own.
And they knew exactly where Unidentified was going to be coming from. Barnacle's putting out a lot of damage there, but this dive with the Goats comp really working for them. Siggs picking up 2 in that trade, and Patches still trying to pick some heads here. However, the sustain coming in from Mikelele, keeping the whole team alive as well as from Squishy. They have to back off a bit here. We see Visions swap over to the Hog, go back to the Zenyatta here as well.
Yeah, no, this tank trap support comp it's very difficult to sort of burst through this. You need so much damage to not only get through the sustains, but to get through the huge health pools that all these big body tanks have. So it's rather difficult to work with, and the fact that they all, like I said before, the strength Unidentified finds them sticking together, and this comp is all about staying close together with one another.
And right now, Barnacle picking them apart a bit from the skies, however taking a lot of damage as well. Being able to back off little by little. Kimbo looking to escape as well, and that fight looked like WRG was going to be able to bring that one back, but not quite. Barnacle still applying pressure from the skies. Can they bring this one back?
We have to see whether they can have enough damage output. I mean, if Barney or Patches is able to get like 1 or 2 good picks off them, maybe get one of the healers down, or 1 or 2 of the tanks, they'll be able to do a good push.
Yeah, but we do see Gravitron used right after a Shatter coming in from Shapeshifter. I think that's a bit too many ults used in that fight, which is going to be allowing WRG to come back here once their ult economy matches or exceeds what Unidentified has right now. But that rally from Squishy just made it nigh impossible for WRG to win that fight with Krakens and Jub in the backline there. And usually this would be their map, but WRG doing a lot of work with it. Barnacle trying to get a bit cheeky, get them out of position to use this, and here we have it! Straight onto Toxic, and he gets taken out by Mikelele, sadly. And he's back up. Kimbo keeping him alive, popping up that Valkyrie, looking for more kills. Siggs looking pretty charged as well. Sponge having to back off there with the Discord ult from Visions, and Jub is still pushing ahead, looking for some more, applying more pressure there. Unidentified having to back off there. That rocket barrage turned the fight around, and now they are above. They have exceeded Unidentified's ult economy right now, and Patches having that Dragon Strike ready is going to be quite the fantastic turnaround for them if they're able to get it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Patches, there we go. Patches and Jub popping both their respective ultimates, getting 2 kills from a Barnacle, also picking up Toxic in the skies. WRG not wanting to give this up any longer than they already have. 50 seconds left on the clock, and they want to get this through as soon as possible. Unidentified are going to have to find another strategy to deal with this, or stick to the same one, which they have opted to do.
You know, the fact that the map sort of does get more contained will also allow for Unidentified's comp to sort of be slightly more viable to them. But it does seem as if Boostios at the moment sort of knows exactly how to deal with this comp. If they're running against every time they try.
Especially with the triple kill coming from them right off of that rocket barrage. Patch is following up greatly with his arrows. Boostio seems, as you said, Boostio seems to know what to do against this composition. Took them a bit of time to get into it, but once they've got that, they seem to be keeping it quite strongly.
Yeah, no, you just need to get any two supports and a tank, or 2 tanks and a support down, and this comp really sort of struggles to hold on its own because it has such low damage output.
But the amount of sustain coming from Squishy's rallies are giving them a bit of trouble here. However, there we go. Dragon Strike from Patches, probably throwing them off guard here. He's looking for some more, and he managed to pick up Sponge as well. Barnacle following up on that quite nicely. Jub not looking too healthy here, but does have Primal Rage and Kiss. Things get a bit too sticky. Barnacle still popping off on the Pharah here, picking up so many kills, and showing why Pharah is still a very strong pick. Go another shatter from oh my word, gets booped across the side there from Barnacle, not allowing for his charge to apply the amount of impact that he needed it to. Shapeshifter's Earth Shatter there, not quite what Unidentified wanted in that situation.
Definitely, Barnacle is doing a lot of work for his team, putting at massive amounts of damage, and the fact that Patches also has his ult up pretty much every engage that they have creates so much space for their team to move, because Unidentified really just needs to get out of the way.
There we go, another Rocket Barrage, picking up 2 of the supports, both Squishy and Michaelele. This allows them to just completely take over the fight with only... Oh, that is fantastic. And not even a resurrection, seeing as we've seen a change in the team composition with Toxic moving over to the Moira.
Yeah, I think they're trying to just supplement a little bit of damage as well as, you know, trying to keep the sustains up, because, like I said before, this comp really has very little damage output.
There we go, no kills gotten with that self-destruct from Sponge. However, another self-destruct as well, not quite getting there. There's a grab on the point coming in from Sigs. They have the spawn advantage here, but can they keep it together? Kimbo bring Visions back up, trying to keep the team alive over here. That Valkyrie is doing so much work with the damage output from it as well as the healing it gives, and the point managed to get a little bit further. WRG taking the second map.
Yeah, no, that was a very, very tight match there between the 2 teams.
Barnacle play the game on the Doomfist here.
Interesting to see a Doomfist for a change in the play of the game.
Not the
I don't think I've ever seen one in the time that I've casted, to be honest.
Yeah, probably the first one he gets the medal of first Doomfist to get play the game in a Prem game.
It's nice.
That has been casted. Let's put it that way, but well-deserved win for Boostios there.
No, they definitely played that very nicely. They sort of adapted well, applied the pressure at all the right places to sort of circumvent this comp that Unidentified was running. They came out very strong in the beginning. It looked like, you know, that they'd be able to sort of sustain this, but Boostia is doing very nice work to sort of just apply pressure where it needed to be applied, making sure they get those sustains down. So the fact that they adapted the composition that they started with sort of really worked in their favor.
In their favor, as they would like it to be. Moving on to the next map, being King's Row. This is kind of the proving grounds of maps. Pretty much every team enjoys playing King's Row. So both of them are going to have to bring... They're going to have to put everything out on the table here. Having Unidentified on current match point for Boostios. Boostios wins this. They do win this 3-0, but can Unidentified bring it back and begin the reverse sweep that they so wish to have? As they did look very strong on Junkertown, they're almost pushing it to the end, but Boostio is able to really bring that one back.
Yeah, we know that Boostios was sort of, we said that they were favored on Junkertown, so you know, despite that momentary pause in the beginning of the map, they did really shine throughout the rest of their push there. But with King's Row, despite the fact that it is yet another hybrid map like the two we saw before, and the fact that it's also a very sort of complex map, the same as the previous two, it starts off with wide sightlines, it ends down into sort of a more confined space. King's Row is just one of those maps where you never really know what's going to happen on it.
Can swing
It's played
way.
so many times, and the teams just run so many different comps, and so many different things happen in this map that it's almost impossible to know what's going to happen. And this is one of the reasons why I love this map, apart from the fact that it's beautiful and it's Widowmaker map, and I love her because she's hot. But
there you heard it, folks.
You know, Donnie's favorite hero. It's just one of those places where you never really know what's going to happen. It's difficult to know sort of which comps the teams are going to run, and you frequently see people sort of pushing past that, you know, capturing that first point, and then very sort of either it's being halted right there from the start where you don't get to push the payload far, or in the event that you do get to move it, the teams frequently sort of get to move it all the way to second point, nearly onto the third one, usually before sort of everybody gets enough time to collect themselves. Because once you've captured that point and you are the defending side, you spawn at the far spawn, so it takes a lot of time for people to get back, especially if you get big wipes.
Yeah.
So it's frequently very easy for the attacking side to push the payload all the way down to that second point without really much resistance happening there. So if you manage to take people out on the start of that map, it's a fairly easy push until that last point, which is very difficult to sort of push past, because then again the defenders have the spawn advantage, so it's a little bit harder to get that last point through. And then, I mean, on the reverse side, if you are the defenders and you manage to sort of not die off on that initial push, then it sort of just halts that payload like right underneath that little archway, and it makes it very hard to push from there. So it's once again one of those maps that sort of either you'll have a fairly easy push and struggle in the end, or you're going to struggle in the beginning and just sort of go nowhere. But
yeah, it can be a very swingy map, and it really depends which team can break through the defense and keep it going. You do see Gutbuster coming back in place of Toxic, and Patches disconnecting for a bit and coming right back. I'm not sure if they were kind of thinking of a swap there from a sub, or if Patches just wanted to refresh a few things on his side.
yeah, Patches had a little bit of a connection issue, so he just had to restart his router, but he seems to be back up now again.
That is lovely. Patches doing a lot of work here. I must say, Sponge winning most of the battles against Patches. However, Patches bringing a lot more to the battlefield in these current fights that we've seen, especially on Junkertown. So you have to see what they can bring back over on King's Row.
Yeah,
Can Sponge come out on top again? Because the verticality of King's Row makes it, as you said, very much a Widow map. And
yeah, no, definitely. It's Widow's home ground. It's a fantastic map to play. It is a high elevation map. It does bring a lot. And as you say, Sponge frequently sort of takes these 1v1 Widow battles. He does seem to win. However, sort of if you let Patches just leave him there for a second, if Patches manages to get a sort of a hit on Sponge, or there's a little bit of pressure applied to him and Sponge isn't able to take Patches out immediately, Patches has sort of been taking out everybody else in the team. So he's just like, okay, I'm gonna just leave that Widow there for a minute, gets 2-3 people on the side, and then carries back onto the Widow. So definitely sort of been creating a lot more space for his team, Patches, than Sponge has. So those Sponge sort of he's you know, conforming to the win condition of playing the Widow. He wins those Widow 1v1s, but he's not quite creating as much space for Unidentified as Patches is creating for Boostios.
Could not agree more at all. And I also find Shapeshifter and Sigs probably need to work on the ultimate communication a little bit more. Using 2 CC ultimates in a fight, not always what you want to do. Does work in certain occasions, but rather saving them and rotating them can be quite a lot better. And I think that's another thing that WRG is coming out on top of, being able to call out their ultimate economy a bit better than Unidentified. However, cannot take it away from Unidentified at all, getting the kills that we would not expect for any other team to get, and wiping Boostios a few times. However, we are loading into King's Row now.
Yeah, at the end of the day, with sort of this map being of the swingy nature that it is, it quite frequently, a lot of these fights come down to team synergy, it comes down to positioning, it comes down to ult economy. Those are sort of the things that you are really going to sort of need to get a hold on to see how fast you can push onto this point and how far you can get this payload going. In the previous fights, we did see White Rabbit Gaming Boostios sort of having a bit of a better hold on their ult economies. They tend to use sort of only about 2 maybe at a time, sort of within an engagement, to try and secure fights for them. Unidentified sometimes do get a little bit sort of messy, a little bit frazzled. They tend to sort of dump a lot of ultimates into a little bit clutch. So we'll have to see sort of who comes out on top for this.
I like seeing Barnacle back on the Genji here over on the defense of WRG. Patches not even wanting to take the Widow here, deciding to go for the Hanzo instead, which works, I would say, just as well and in some situations better, which, as seeing Sponge has also got the Hanzo right now, definitely rather have the Hanzo so you can output the same amount of pressure as your opponents here. Jub and Kraken's not moving at all from their decided heroes. And Vision's over on the Ana.
Yeah, no, the Ana definitely provides them with a lot of sort of long range sustains, so that's nice given the verticality of the maps. I mean, the Hanzos are good. It allows for you to sort of, it does equally about the same amount of damage output, if not more so than a Widow would do, and the ultimate is a lot more useful.
And here we have Unidentified going through the back. Jub and Kraken's coming in through the front with Patches on top there, doing as much damage as possible. Barnacle still on point there. Not able to get the res out from Gutbuster. That is not very good for them. A deflect coming in with the arrow that probably would have killed Barnacle as well. And a fantastic sleep from Visions, closing things up a bit. They're having to back off here. Quite a commanding start for WRG, but can they keep it together? Patches ready with the Dragon Strike already. Sponge not far behind either. There's the Dragon Strike coming through. There are quite a lot of them in there, but not able to really get the kills they needed from that Dragon Strike. Sponge ready with his one. He's going to be wanting to use that as soon as possible, hoping to possibly get some kills beforehand. Picks up Barnacle, mid-air combo! Fantastic. Just getting all these headshots. Sponge, you mad lad.
Insane popping off there. Absolutely fantastic play from Sponge there.
Fantastic play from Unidentified as a whole, keeping the team low for Sponge to pop off there. He would have built so much ultimate charge if he hadn't used his one before, but he didn't even need to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The kill feed was popping up so quickly, I was wondering whether my game was glitching.
Not at all, it's just Sponge playing Hanzo. But can he keep this aggression together? Here he is trying to find Jub, but a bit too difficult for the monkey. And Squishy opting to change to the Bastion here.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting play, but given sort of this confined space, it's very nice if you can keep the Bastion up on that payload. It'll create a lot of problems for Boostios if they're able to keep the pirate ship going.
And not quite yet, but Squishy does get res. It's not enough. Sigs popping out the Graviton to allow for the Dragon Strike, and there we have it. Sponge picking up all 6 players. Sans Krakens that gets taken out shortly after as the mech was destroyed. Team wipe for Unidentified.
What a wombo combo that was. And I mean, Sponge doing so much work once again, this time with the assistance of Ziggs and Zarya. Very nicely played by Unidentified. They seem to be very comfortable with whatever they're running at the moment. And it's not only are they comfortable with it, but it's working out really well for them now.
And look at the space being opened up for the Dragon Strike coming in from Patches right now. Not able to get something against Squishy, dealing with their dive tanks before the Dragon comes out. This Bastion is just doing way too much damage for them to deal with right now.
Yeah, so like as I mentioned before, like with that, Shane Barnacle going down.
Yeah, just Sponge.
With that near 2 team wipes in the beginning fight, so much space was created for Unidentified to push this payload with relative ease all the way to the second point. We will have to see sort of what Boostios brings towards this last point. This is a very difficult point to sort of get through, but with this Bastion set up on this payload, he might just melt through what they sort of try and do, so we'll have to see what they bring.
Oh, Barnacle with Rocket Barrage only taking out Michaelele. Patches taking out Squishy though. Gutbuster being able to get Michaelele back up though. Patches taking out Gutbuster in the trade. It's just a back and forth between these two teams, but Sponge still just showering WLG with arrows and ends up going down to Visions. This is WRG's chance to bring things back. However, right now, Ultimate Economy over on Unidentified is looking extremely good. Shapeshifter about to get that totem up as well.
Yeah, no, they're definitely, the fact that they have so much, they have the 2 DPS outputs along with the extra boost from the Orisa, and both defensive ultimates definitely puts them in quite a good space. We see that Boostios also has the 1 defensive ult up as long with the DPS ult and the Diva Bomb as well. It can create a lot of space for them.
Oh wow, here we go. Barnacle goes right in, takes out Michaelele from the damage boost coming in from such a high height. Kimbo damage boosting him as well, and this is just WRG shredding Unidentified apart. Sponge still in the backline, completely uncontested right now, but not able to find Barnacle just yet. His hopping around is too much for him. The rest of his team falls apart as Sponge doesn't find the picks he needs.
Yeah, no, that was a little bit unfortunate for Unidentified. We do see, however, that they didn't panic ult. They only used the 1 ult from Gutbuster. So they're still setting up with 4 ults in the middle and the mid at the moment. Words, how do they work? But Boostios also will be up, sort of matching them in ults.
Once again, Barnacle diving in there, allowing for Patches to pick 1 up and him to get another one as well. Squishy's on his own there, he misses the hit, and Squishy takes, Sponge managed to take Barnacle out there. This is not a good pick for WRG, and Squishy is the one set up in the corner there on the Bastion. Skyrit, fire it! Ooh, definitely working for them there. Using up 2 ultimates, dropping the ult economy swing in WRG's favor, however, still able to win that fight from it. There we have Primal Rage coming out from Jub, looking to split things up a bit, hopefully get a few kills. The damage from Squishy is just too much at the moment. Squishy setting up on this flank there, not allowing WRG to do much, but Kraken's diving right in there. Hopefully he gets some assistance, and Vision assists him perfectly to take Squishy down. WRG, Jub jumping right onto the rest of Unidentified. Can they keep it together? Michaelele a bit split up there. Barnacle takes him out due to his positioning. That is not very good for them, and Shapeshifter on his own now. Barnacle still just dealing with him as a Doomfist does. 45 seconds left on the clock. Unidentified have possibly only this push left for them to bring this one back, and they've swapped over the composition a bit. Sigs moving over to the Roadhog. Squishy opting for the Brigitte. Can they bring things back here, especially with Sponge having that Dragon Strike ready? There, Dragon Strike comes out. Barnacle reads the situation, knows he needs to do something, and he goes down before he's even able to use his ultimate. Not a good sight for them. Kraken's also knocked out of his mech. Barnacle is back up though. He needs to get some kills very quickly, but he gets taken out in no time afterwards. Visions popping to the centers just to keep things alive. Patches hoping to get some kills on his own here, but this is not the best for them right now. He might have to use his Dragon Strike to keep them off of the point right now. Jub ready to jump in as well. There we have it. Dragon Strike right onto the point there. Jub onto Gutbuster. Manages to pick him up though. Shapeshifter trades Patches in that fight right now. And there we have another Primal Rage. A charge into an Earth Shatter from Shapeshifter looking to get some more. Here we have it. Kraken self-destruct once again. Not picking anyone up there, but Shapeshifter's shield is not looking very good. Squishy popping that rally to keep the team alive. Another Dragon Strike coming in from Sponge. They're able to bring this one back bit by bit. Barnacle still on there. Gets taken out from Squishy though, and Patches not looking very healthy on the Tracer there. This is looking really good for Unidentified. However, the spawn advantage doing so much work for WRG, and they're not quite able to get it just yet. Jub trying to get on the point. He overextends it a little bit, but he manages to keep it just a little bit longer. Visions back on the point. They're trying to keep things alive. Popping over to that Lucio right now, hoping for some more dodges. Shapeshifter's charge there, but ends up going down to Squishy anyways, and Unidentified managed to get 3 points in round 1 of King's Row.
Wow, what a fantastic push we had there from Unidentified. It was very nice swaps there towards the end. The Roadhog worked very well for them, and Squishy was doing absolute mad things on the Brigitte. Very, very smart swap there from them. It helped to keep Jib on the Winston at bay. It helped to keep Barnacle at bay on that Doomfist. It helped to keep all the supports at bay. So definitely that Brigitte doing a lot of work for them, as well as the Roadhog. They created so much space there at the end with that ultimate. So it definitely a very, very nice adaptation there from Unidentified.
Adaptation, the key of the game. I must say, Squishy's Brigitte doing far too much work for any character to do in a game with this type of level. Fantastic.
Honestly, it's sort of hashtag Brigitte things, to be honest. If you play Brigitte really well, she's quite overpowered and counters a lot of things. So it's a very powerful hero to have within your roster and within your hero pool. And the last push that was secured for Unidentified, if you look at those brawls, it's easy to see why Brigitte is such a sort of nice niche crucial pick to have in your team, because in these clutch situations, if you have a composition like the one that Boostios was running, she's really, really effective, because there was nothing sort of left at that point in time for them to sort of deal with the Brigitte in those last few seconds.
And they're opting not to go with the Brigitte here. Squishy actually over on the Pharah, going to be dealing with Barnacle's Pharah as well. Very similar team compositions here, the only difference really being their tank lineup, which is completely different tanks. But we do see that Siggs is looking to combo once again with Sponge. But is he going to be able to in the situation? Jub diving right in there with Krakens. Looking to get a bit of a backline. Barnacle in the air here, has to watch out for Sponge, and there we go, Jub right away jumping in, dealing a lot of damage, but right now Squishy just trying to take Barnacle out of the sky. Quite a dangerous fight to take there, whilst the rest of his team isn't doing too well here. Barnacle's trying to deal with it as well, but just managed to get them off of here. Squishy, Sponge ends up going down here. Michael not long after. And Jub is just the glue that's keeping Boostios together here.
And Jube definitely playing a dive tank the way a dive tank is supposed to be played. He's always in the backline. He's always taking out the supports, which makes it very difficult for Unidentified to sustain a defense if they have one or two of their supports down. So definitely doing a lot of work for them.
However, Sponge switching over to the McCree. We just saw him take up Barnacle in absolutely no time. Barnacle not opting to swap here. Doesn't want Sponge to dictate how Boostios is going to be playing this fight. Patches about to have his Dragon Strike ready. Sponge no longer having a Dragon Strike, so them comboing with a grab is a lot less apparent.
Well, despite the fact that he doesn't have the Dragon Strike anymore. You're already sitting on 71% ult charge with the McCree, and I mean, you can use the McCree ult into a grab as well.
Yeah, and there's the Dragon Strike just splitting them up, not quite getting any kills, and Sponge still doing all the work he needs to do there. Daredeye going to be ready in no time. Pops a headshot on Kimbo as well as on Batches. He's waiting for Jib to jump on him, but he doesn't even decide to do that. There we go, Barnacle goes down as well. Sponge on McCree, what have you been hiding from us?
I need a doctor.
Yeah, no, it definitely seems as if he has quite a bit of a hero pool that he seems to be hiding from us all the time.
Barnacle doesn't want any of this anymore. Switching over to the Genji. Going up with Patches, hopefully to get some early picks here. And there we go, Gutbuster going down in absolutely no time. Sponge down as well. Shapeshifter in the backline. Boostios, you need to deal with this, but they managed to. And Visions takes out Shapeshifter knowing that he can deal with it. And Squishy on his own there. Here comes the self-destruct from Boostios. Not really picking up any kills, but forcing Sigs to go into... Now Sponge is back. Kraken's not going to let him get any shots in nice and easy.
Boostios seeming to apply a lot of pressure.
And here we have High Noon coming out for Boostios. However, Visions has popped the Transcendence. Can it last out? And it does indeed. Jub diving in there, not allowing for them to keep that together at all. They've used up 2 ultimates now without enough payout from that. Squishy using the rocket barrage though, hopefully going to be able to do it, and knocks Jube out of the sky. Barnacle deals with it though, does not want Squishy around any longer. Only one on the point here, dealing quite a lot of damage to Shapeshifter whilst he's alone here. Does have his blade, takes Shapeshifter, he's looking for Sigs now. Can he get him? But there's just far too much sustain from the Roadhog right now. He has to play this pretty safe on his own. He doesn't want to deal with the hook, and it's just an absolute takedown. Krakens is in to save things, and here we have Patches' Dragon taking out Gutbuster, allowing for Sigs to go down as well. WRG bringing things back bit by bit. Squishy in the air there, gets taken out by Visions. Visions, the anti-air cannon. Lele might just have to learn something from Visions here.
Yeah, no, definitely Visions putting in exceptional work on the Zen. We saw Unidentified sort of committing a lot of ultimates in that previous push, not really being able to stop Boostios, however, from sort of plowing ahead with this payload. So once again, we'll have to see how they adapt to this last point.
Over here, Sponge also adapting, deciding to try out the Doomfist here. Can he get the kills he needs right now? Just keeping Jub off of the positioning that he wants and going for Krakens, but not quite able to convert them to kills right now. Patches still ripping things apart, and here comes the Dragon Strike. Is he going to get any of them with it though? Doesn't quite seem like it, but that spacing that it has allowed here is fantastic. Squishy gets taken down once again by Visions. Barnacle diving in there with his Dragon Blade, picks up Gutbuster, but goes down to Shapeshifter's hammer. Mid-dash. Here we go. Krakens once again with a self-destruct, not picking anyone up, but getting them off of the point. Jub diving right onto Sponge here. Can he get it? Especially with Squishy on him as well. Not at all. Krakens there, just taking damage from Lele right now. There comes the Meteor Strike from Sponge. However, he gets taken down from Patches. Patches still in the backline here, trying to deal some work, but WRG deciding to back off here. They do have 2.5 minutes still to go.
Yeah, no, it does seem to be a fairly quick reset. They don't want to give Unidentified too much time to collect themselves and sort of get set up efficiently.
Here we have a Jub just going right back in. Barnacle and Squishy dueling in the air once again. Krakens deep into the payload spacing right now. Jub on there as well. However, Jub gets taken down in no time. The rest of WRG not quite there to assist them due to the onslaught between Barnacle and Squishy. They haven't been able to keep it together as a team here. Kimbo on top of Barnacle for a lot of that fight instead of helping out the tanks on point. But I think they're just trying to whittle things down a bit. Patches once again ready with the Dragon Strike. Visions has the Transcendence to go, but Sponge is going to be looking for some more kills here over on the Doomfist. It's been doing a bit of work for them, and is it enough to really make it through? There's a lot of damage coming from him now. Coalescence from Mike. Here we come. There's the Dragon Strike. Is it going to pick him up? There we go. Sigs goes down. Sponge is down as well from Barnacle. Justice raiding for him, but from Squishy. Only picking up Patches. I like for them to keep it together just a little bit longer. Can Shapeshifter bring it onto the point? And there we go. Charges Jub onto the point, but he pops out in the last second. He decides to go to primal range. Barnacle using his rocket barrage, but can he keep it together with Sponge jumping right onto him? Squishy deciding to switch over to the Soldier, and it's not enough. WRG pushing at 3 points as well.
Yeah, no, very nicely played there by both teams. They both had that initial push that sort of allowed them free reign all the way to the end, and then with those last sort of bit of clutch defenses here at the end, keeping that third point for as long as they possibly can. We see that White Rabbit Gaming Boostios had a little bit of a quicker push there, so they'll have a little bit more time on the clock, sort of trying to get the next few rounds sorted, but it's despite the fact that it's almost double the amount of time, it's really almost no time.
Yeah, that's not much time at all on the clock. Gonna have to see how far they can push it once it gets to overtime here. Unidentified is up first.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Kraken still deciding who to go with. Opting for the Diva, it seems it's been working for them. There's no reason to change up a recipe that bakes the cake you want.
Yeah, no, definitely these pushes I think are going to be hard and fast. There isn't a lot of time. We've got 1 minute and 54 seconds.
2, 1.
So let the action begin, I guess.
Let the action begin indeed. Squishy back onto the Brigitte here. They're going with this very deathball-y comp all together in the small room, looking to find the kills they need so that they can push forward, but Barnacle in the air there, Jub right onto it. Vision's going down to Shapeshifter though. That's not what they want to see right now. Unidentified looking pretty good moving in here, keeping those heals alive, and Gutbuster almost has its ultimate already. Kraken's trying to keep things alive for a little bit longer. Kimbo taking damage from Gutbuster and actually going down there. Barnacle using up the rocket barrage, taking out 2 of them, possibly keeping things together a bit longer. Patches, the only one left on the point and not going to be able to deal with Coalescence from Gutbuster. Job decides to dive in there, but I think he is a bit too late, especially with the hook coming in from Sigs.
Yeah, no, very nice.
Very nice from Unidentified. Just a lot of pressure. And Squishy opting over to the Widowmaker here. Probably going to look for some kills onto Barnacle. Being in the air there, not getting too many defenses. Or possibly even the supports. Gets a tick onto Barnacle, but it's not quite enough. Jub is up there with him as well. What is Jub going to be leaping on? They're just not allowing Squishy to get to that top line. And right now, just such a small area. Patches using this these close quarters combat to his advantage with that Dragon Strike, keeping things together. Right now, don't think Squishy's going to be able to keep that together. And there we have it. It's already over for Unidentified.
Yeah, no, the fact that they only had that sort of 60 seconds to push onto points, so by the time they captured the points, it was already an overtime. You cannot leave the payload for even a second. The longer you stay on it, the faster it ticks down, and Patches, you know, utilizing the environment to his favor, using that small space to push his dragons through. You have to get off the cart or you will die, but you can't get off the cart because it's overtime, so a very difficult catch-22 there.
Possibly what Unidentified would have wanted to do there was try get an ultimate from a instead of Michaeletta being on the Coalescence, maybe save that Coalescence for a little bit longer, or get a Zenyatta there for the Transcendence to deal with that, because they should know the Patches is going to be opting for the Hanzo here, going into such a clutch fight. And Unidentified on defense now. Squishy making things exciting, swapping over to the Reaper.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're sort of trying to sort of get a hold on, maybe trying to get Jube just a little bit shut down on that Winston. But I think maybe a sort of a more ideal strategy would have been if instead of everybody clumping up together on the payload, if they sort of pushed through that choke and applied a lot of pressure on the other side of this archway, that would have allowed for them to maybe get that payload through that point just a little bit easier.
Sponge ready, trying to get as many hits as possible. Jub diving in there, but he gets met with Squishy's Reaper, taking quite a lot of damage from that one, having to back off. Squishy is discorded though, he might be able to find the hits he needs, and Patches trying to get some hits in from the side here, but not quite getting them. Sponge doing work on this Widowmaker right now, not getting the kills, but definitely getting damage in, and taking damage from Visions in that situation right now. Kraken's also taking a lot of damage, having to just escape as far as possible to get healed up a bit from Kimbo. And just try take down Shapeshifter Shield. It's not looking very healthy right now. However, Squishy pops Kraken's out of that shield completely, gets the health and escapes. That's not very good for them at all. And
Sponge doing a lot of work on the Widow, getting 2 picks down there at the moment.
Barnacle going down as well. They only have 50 seconds left on the clock. They need to deal with this as soon as possible, but Squishy is about to have that Death Blossom as well. Sponge has popped that Infrasight, making it very difficult for WRG to push through here. But there we go, he ends up going down. Barnacle and Patches not allowing him anything at all. There we go, there's Squishy with the Death Blossom, trying to pick up some more kills. Barnacle still in the air there. He could possibly have his Rocket Barrage up very soon. Job having to back off. Visions is the only support left for them, and this looks like it's going extremely in the favor of Unidentified right now. Visions might just have to run in with the Transcendence. Patches trying to also get onto the point here. And here we have it, a very aggressive Transcendence from Visions. He has to just get up to the points to contest it. Kimbo has swapped over to the Lucio right now. Patches gets taken down though. That's not at all what they want. Barnacle comes in with the Rocket Barrage, but he ends up going down to Michaelele. Kimbo's are left on the point with Visions and Krakens. Can Krakens keep it together, especially with the amount of damage coming in from Sponge, but it's not enough. Sponge goes down, they keep it together a little bit longer. Michaelele hoping to get another kill, and he does get another one. There's only 2 of them pushing this right now. Can Unidentified come back to push them off? They have a huge disadvantage with the spawn.
Yeah,
They have quite a lot of time.
They're going to have a lot of time to get back there and contest quite quick enough.
And it's already in overtime. Sigs could win this whole fight with just the Gravitron keeping them off of the point here. WRG are going to have a huge amount of trouble in this choke. And Krakens does have the self-destruct, so hopefully they can use this to their advantage. Squishy still in their backline, hoping to pick up some kills, but decides to opt out for it. And Patch's Dragon Strike could also be extremely useful here. And there we have it. There is the Graviton, but Krakens brings it back with the self-destruct. Squishy trying to find what he can with the Death Blossom, but right now WRG look like they're going to be able to push it, and they take it! 3-0 versus Unidentified! Completely changing the timeline of what we've been seeing from these two teams in the last leg.
Play of the game.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic play there from both teams. We didn't expect to see any other play of the game than this from Sponge. Absolutely insane plays here.
Not allowing them to take that whatsoever. Picking up all 6 players. But WRG managed to turn it around and win that 3-0. Absolutely mental coming in. That's what we need to see.
It was absolutely fantastic play. A lot of love for the supports there. Kimbo on the Lucio, Visions, they were really keeping that point alive. They were keeping Krakens exactly where it was supposed to be. I think the fact that Unidentified sort of waited so long around that little corner before they decided to sort of use their ultimates maybe didn't quite count in their favor as well as they wanted to. I know they sort of I think they were sort of bargaining on a team kill happening there, and then everything would have been fine.
Yeah. If they could combo with Sigs properly in that situation, I think things would have looked a lot better for them.
3 seconds earlier, but then maybe it sort of then maybe there would have been time to sort of adapt when those 2 ult combos didn't actually work out.
Yeah, completely.
When they wanted to.
I do think from that it was an extreme back and forth. Unidentified almost started bringing it back there, but I think Unidentified need to work a little better on their ult combinations. We saw an exceptional 6k kill there from Sigs as well as from Sponge, but there were so many situations where they didn't quite get it right. So, I feel like they were so close to it, and it was right there. They could start bringing things back. They could hold WRG where they needed to, but Boostios at the end come out on top. And
No,
hopefully,
they definitely shined. And like I say, that last push, in my opinion, all the love should go to those two supports there. The supports were doing so much work.
yeah, I would actually say all four in that regard. So many supports doing all the work they needed to. But right now, WRG winning this 3-0, changing things up from what we saw last leg with Unidentified taking a 3-1 in their favor. What we're going to do is we're going to get Barnacle on for a quick chat about how he feels about the turnaround here, because I'm sure he should be ecstatic knowing that he took that 3-1.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I know I would be. I'm pretty amped. I wasn't even playing, and I didn't even win, so I can't even imagine how amped him and his team are for this win and for this absolute insane madness that was happening in all three of these maps.
Madness indeed. Let's see if we can just quickly get him into the chat. Okay, I'm adding him in now.
Hello.
Hi there, Barnacle. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
I
pretty good right now.
I can imagine you and your team must feel absolutely ecstatic, changing things around from leg 3, taking a loss 3-1 to them being unidentified, now turning around with a 3-0 win in your favor. That must be fantastic.
Yeah, I won't lie, it feels pretty good. Yeah, we've been grinding a lot. Yeah, no, it feels good, man.
Feels good indeed. I just want to know what was it like in your team communications on Kings Row moving into overtime there, but into the sudden death between the two teams there, having both teams match it on 3 points.
It's quite difficult to put it into words because 6 people are screaming at the same time. It's quite hard to tell what people are actually saying. But sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah, no, comms tend to, get quite messy just in
I can
general.
imagine so.
But when it's these last minute clutch pushes, like literally everybody is almost screaming at the top of their lungs, and
Yeah.
everybody is saying something different. So it's quite hectic.
Sorry about the delay there. Kim was
Not a
just
problem.
with me at the moment, and I don't think she knew that I was doing this. I just wanted to ask her to keep it down. But
Not a
I can
problem.
tell you that my barrage when the overtime was in consisted of me screaming out, I got two, and then I got three, and then Visions and Kim started screaming Moira, and then someone else started screaming, stay on the effing points, because
PG-13.
I think they semi-chased the Moira because she ran off a bit, and
there was.
and then we may have said some very nice things to Patches when he got those 2 picks, because that pretty much saved us that fight, then followed obviously by Kraken's Diva Bomb. But
Yeah,
I may have told Patches he was very sexy a few times there, 'cause those were beautiful.
I can imagine
His
your
bombs were
spirits are through
sexy
the roof.
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Kraken's bombs there were absolutely fantastic. The self-destructs, bringing things back from fights that looked like they were very one-sided, and out of nowhere you would just see these self-destructs that are managing to just clip people on the corners exactly when you needed it. It was fantastic seeing that, especially when the grab came out from Sigs on the Zarya there. I thought it was over for you guys, but you managed to turn it around so nicely through the picks that you mentioned there. And really...
Yeah, I think we were lucky with that self-destruct picked up those kills because it was kind of last-ditch effort for everyone.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sponge or Squishy, whoever was playing Reaper, farmed up 2 Reaper ulti in a minute 50, which is hella impressive.
Yeah, that was squishy.
Yeah.
But
That's squishy.
I think he got. I have a feeling he got booped by either a Diva flying into him or a Lucio. So his Reaper ult at the end wasn't as effective as it could have been.
Yeah, he was
we-
knocked
we-
off
we-
for the point there.
Yeah, we just survived. I think I was quite high up in the air. I ended up going down anyway.
Mm.
But yeah, that Diva bomb prevented them from killing us quick enough because they had to shield and hide instead of just swing in. I really think that clutched for us quite nice there.
Yeah, so seeing
Yeah,
as you've
okay,
taken this
okay.
now with your team 3-0 with previously teams tied for the top, being with no defeats, all wins across the board, who do you think is in your sights next? Who are you currently most worried about? Well, I wouldn't say worried is the right one. Who are you the most ready to take on, and who would you say is your biggest adversary going forward?
We're always ready to take on everyone, and no, I don't mean that in a. Wait, am I allowed to say cocky?
Yeah,
'Cause I
you
said
can
it
s- yeah.
anyways, so I'm gonna
Well,
say
you
it again.
just kind of
I
did.
know, you
So
see what I did there? No, I don't want to sound cocky. Just, I mean, we're always up for a challenge and
Yes.
always up for playing any team. Obviously, our big scares in Prem are always GG, Eden, Unidentified, and 2CP.
Yeah,
I think we're at a lot calmer now that we've got those 2 of the big 4 down.
yeah.
We've got GG in an hour and a half. We're playing them again.
Which
but
you
yeah, I
can
think
catch on this
Eden-
channel.
Yeah, I think. Wow, self-promotion. Yeah, I think GG and Eden are the 2 we're still quite nervous about playing. Obviously Eden the most, but Eden is always just scary.
Yeah,
But
Indeed.
I mean, realistically, if you think about it, by winning right now, we've just qualified for Comic Con.
yeah.
So,
That is
yeah, that's-
exceptional. That's
Yeah.
fantastic going forward, knowing that your spot is cemented in Comic-Con coming up this September. That's fantastic.
Also, I'm quite happy because the meta's changed quite a lot, and a lot of teams, Unidentified being one of them, are quite adamant to continue to run what is meta, whereas we've been practicing for what's to come.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, the current meta with the Brigitte and the Hanzo is an anti-dive meta, and we run in dive and we're making it work. So I'm quite interested to see what's going to happen, change a bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, Hammond's coming out in probably the next. I think he releases on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's
and
going to be.
then,
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll be in comp probably 3 to 4 weeks from now, which means LAN is going to be a lot different. All the buffs come into Lucio, which is going to make the dive healers a lot more important as well. Yeah, I'm quite happy because I have a little burning inner hatred, passionate towards Hanzo. I won't,
Yeah,
no, I
no.
won't lie to you. I won't lie to you. It tilts me harder than I've ever been tilted in my life. I find him to be infuriating hero in the game. I mean, you saw that play of the game. He pushed
Yeah.
Q, and he killed 6 people. Like,
Yeah,
that
it's
shouldn't be
ridiculous.
it
Absolutely.
shouldn't be okay. But you know what? It is what it is. I would say I've learned to live with it, but that would be absolute lies.
Yeah, just keeping yourself honest
Still tilts
with
me, dude.
yourself
It
and
still
everyone
tilts
else.
me daily.
Yeah, I think Hanzo with his changes and his reiterations have been a big red sign for a lot of people. They've been very worried about it, and it's tilted just about everyone that exists playing Overwatch
Yeah.
at the moment.
Mhm.
But there are changes coming up. Hopefully he does become more in line, but as you've said, the meta shifting might just sort that out for us. And
Yeah.
we just have to see what happens, and we will be seeing what happens at Comic-Con. But right now, keep riding that euphoria of taking this one 3-0, reversing what we saw last leg, and honestly, I hope the best for the match coming up in an hour and a half against Goliath Gaming.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys, and thanks a lot for casting. I'm sure it was good. We'll definitely watch it. Some feedback on our own gameplay a bit later. Well, not today.
Yeah,
Not today, because
soon.
it's a lot of Overwatch for one
Too many
day.
matches today. Yeah, no, definitely.
Not a problem at
Cool.
all.
Well, guys, thanks a lot. I'm gonna go take a power nap and have another whiskey before our next game.
Thanks
You know,
so much for
enjoy.
joining
Good luck
us.
with the next games.
Cool. Cheers.
Cheerio.
Cheers.
Okay, great.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we've heard it from Barnacle
Yeah.
himself. Definitely ecstatic about this win and looking forward to fighting Goliath Gaming shortly afterwards. I must say, Donimay, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on board with us. Well, with me. I mean, us. I'm not that much of a split personality person. I think I should hold on.
Well, maybe just a tad, but I
just a
was
little
when
bit.
you said us, I just assumed you and the viewers. So, maybe just go with that next time instead of the viewers in your head. But yes, no, thank you very much. It was absolutely lovely as always to work with you. The games were fantastic. Thank you to everybody who was watching and the teams that played. It's always such an exciting time, and I absolutely love doing this. So it was fantastic.
It was fantastic indeed. Thank you. Just want to reiterate thanking all the teams that played and the viewers. But for us now, this is a cheerio. Don't go too far though, because White Rabbit Gaming is going to be fighting Goliath Gaming in the next hour and a half. That is going to be 8 o'clock right on this channel. And that fight is going to be like this, but Goliath Gaming's aggression is well known, and you will not want to miss that. Cheers, everyone.
Bye, everybody.